All right, let's talk Los Angeles Rams. Of course, it's been a very active team this offseason, making a lot of really solid moves like they always do. The Rams, and we talk about them a lot on this channel, one of the smarter teams in football, but kind of an under the radar move they made a while back. There's been some reports that have come out that really highlight the intelligent strategy behind this Rams decision. We'll get into that in just 1 second. But first, I'm Nick, that's Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, the Rams made a lot of headline-grabbing moves this offseason. Of course, probably the biggest was bringing in Davante Adams, and probably the second biggest, even though everyone expected it, was bringing back Matthew Stafford. It's clear the Rams are in win-now mode, but a move a lot of people forgot about has really kind of had resurfacing a little bit here, and a deeper analysis reveals exactly why the Rams made this specific move and why it was really smart. Let's jump into the article first to kind of refresh everyone's mind, and then we'll go into analysis on the other side. So this is courtesy of SI.com. One of the more surprising moves by the Los Angeles Rams this offseason was the signing of veteran lineman Coleman Shelton. The Rams gave Shelton a 2-year deal worth $12 million, including $6 million fully guaranteed at signing. It's starter level money, and on Monday, General Manager Les Snead confirmed Shelton was signed to take over as the team's starting center. Obviously, Bo Limmer, the young player, played a lot of center last year for the Rams. What we missed with Coleman when he left was the ability to communicate to all of our young offensive linemen and maybe even our veterans, Steve said via the Rams official site. He may be in an audible situation, maybe when things change and being able to handle that moment, it was very vital. All right, when you look in those words right there and kind of read between the lines, it's clear that the Rams, in terms of Les Snead, Sean McVay, they want experience more than anything else. They need a center that's been there, done that, and it's exactly the approach they take. And we can go into these graphs here to kind of break it down. And a lot of this will be kind of obvious because Shelton's been around a little bit and Bo Limmer wasn't, but it's pretty drastic. So in our first graph here, we have regular season appearances between Bo Limmer and Coleman Shelton. And you can see it's 90 versus like 16. It's not even close. Shelton has 4+ seasons of additional game appearances, regular season appearances over Bo Limmer. That is invaluable when you have a veteran quarterback relying on a center, Matthew Stafford, 37 years old, trying to get things right with Davante Adams, move on from Cooper Kupp, right? They're going to have to trust this offensive line to get things right. Bo Limmer did some good things, but the reality is Coleman Shelton has so much more experience, and it's not just in the regular season, it's in the postseason too. And remember, Shelton isn't 35 years old. Let's go ahead and throw up the second graph here. You can look at the playoff appearances. Bo Limmer has 2, obviously both last season for the Rams. Coleman Shelton was 7. So again, 5 more playoff appearances than Bo Limmer. Again, nothing against Limmer. He's obviously a young guy. But when you're in win now mode, you need to go for experience. You need to go with guys who have been there before. And sometimes you need to sacrifice a little bit in terms of talent and performance for the experience. And usually what goes with that is you overpay. You usually can go one of two routes in the National Football League. You can either go young and cheap or experienced and expensive, right? This is sort of the concept behind drafting rookies like the rookie quarterback. He's inexperienced, but he's cheap and there's value there. Or you can load up on top heavy rosters. Hey, it's expensive, but you've got veterans. You know what to expect. Those are the two barbell approaches you can take in terms of building an NFL football team. But what the Rams have done here is very impressive. They not only got experience, but they got an incredible amount of value when it comes to bringing back Shelton. That goes into our third and final graph. And I know 3 graphs here, big Microsoft Excel channel, talk about it all the time. And this is regular season appearances divided by the APY. And this is talking about basically experience per dollar. That's basically how you want to look at this graph. And we compared Coleman Shelton with 2 other high dollar offensive linemen, big name guys, Drew Dalman, who went from the Atlanta Falcons to Chicago Bears, and Aaron Banks, who went from the 49ers to the Green Bay Packers. He'll be a guard, I know, but still, it's a decent comparison. Both those guys have played a decent amount of football. Both those guys are considered good football players, but you can see the value of Coleman Shelton. They're right in the middle. His experience per dollars, that's what this graph is saying, is 3-4 times higher than both of these guys. That's incredible value by the Rams. That is almost unheard of to get accomplished during free agency. Again, like I said before, you can usually get only one of two things. You can either get value or you can either get experience, right? You'll see a team get a steal we like in the draft, a guy who's ready to break out, but he's not a guy that's played 50 games, right? That's why you're able to get him cheap. Or you have to go out and overpay a little bit like the Packers might have. I think they got a pretty good deal there, the Packers did, when you break down the numbers, and we did on this channel. But at least at the surface level, it's overpayment. The Bears probably overpaid a little bit for Dalman, but they wanted that experience. Both teams were looking for experience. The Rams got that experience, but with great value. Once again, incredible job by the Rams front office. All right, Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of this. I think this is a great move to help out the quarterback position, Matthew Stafford. But first, Rams fans, the Ramley, if you will, in the comment section below. The draft is rapidly approaching, so we know this is a Rams team. They're going to have to make some smart moves. They're really good at drafting. We saw it last year. What's one player that no one's really talking about? Not one of these big name first round guys, but what's one player you got your eye on as a potential steal, whether it's in the second round or the seventh round, that you want the Rams to go after? Let us know in the comment section below. But Miles, what are your thoughts on this latest analysis, this latest update, and really just all things Los Angeles Rams?
Yeah, Nick, I think first and foremost, I think, Shelton to the Rams here, it's going to be a big change at the center position. I think the key here is Snead's comment. Snead kind of knocked out of the park when he's like, Bo Limmer, he was good, but he's like a freshman amongst PhD candidates. It's like, this is a guy who is in over his head as far as not that he's a bad player. It's just he doesn't have the depth of knowledge. He doesn't have the ability to come in. It's almost like, your first day of work going into a room of people who've been there for, like 5, 6, 7 years. If anyone who's worked any job for any amount of time, you can go and look back, get 2 years into a job, which in all reality isn't too long, and think about what you know then versus what you knew the first day that you walked through the doors. It is an insane amount more than you could ever imagine that you would have known. And the difference is just huge. And the fact that Shelton is this much more experienced, he's been around the block this much longer than Bo Limmer, I think is going to make a really big difference. We talked about this of some other players that other teams have brought in, just that championship caliber experience players bring. But in this case, it's just raw experience, flat experience. If you don't have a superstar player, if you're not looking, guys like the Linderbaum for Baltimore coming in, young guys that just come in and absolutely knock it out of the park. I think when you switch around players and get someone in there with a lot more experience, it makes a big difference. And the key here is, I think that's really, really important with Stafford because Stafford, he's no spry chicken. He's not a young guy. This is definitely 1000% win now mode with this Rams team. So, Bo Limmer, he could be the future. Maybe he develops and becomes the future. But right now, they need a guy like Shelton in here. I think what Snead and Co. did here is saying, hey, we're all in for right now. We know that Stafford will not be around a long time. We cannot trust a guy like Limmer in here to hope he develops, hope he gets to the point we need to. We need to make sure we have a guy in here who we're comfortable with and who's going to be able to win us a lot of games, bringing that experience to the table, bringing the communication to the table like Coleman Shelton did. I think that's huge. I think this is going to be a massive monumental switch up for the Rams. I think we're going to see a lot better communication across the front of the line. I think we're going to see a lot better offensive line cohesiveness, a lot better play overall by this. So I think great move by the Rams here, and I think this is showing this is a team that they think can win now, and they're making the switches to make that the most feasible thing for them going forward.
Yeah, there's an old saying, right? Hope is not a plan. Hope should not be a plan when it comes to executing your goals, whatever they may be. And obviously, in football terms, NFL, your goal is to win a championship, of course. And hoping Bo Limmer develops and gets better and figures it out and becomes a PhD quality offensive lineman overnight in terms of understanding the offense, communication, and things like that, that's not going to work out. Hope doesn't win you rings. That's the reality of the situation. The Rams proved this, right? They had Jared Goff. They had the team they had that went to the Super Bowl when they lost to the Patriots a number of years ago. And the Rams could have hoped that Jared Goff becomes a Super Bowl champion quarterback. He's still very good, obviously, does good things with the Lions, but they could have sat there and hoped. And they said, no, hope is not a plan. We're going to bring in Matthew Stafford. We're going to retool some things about this team, and we're going to build a title, right? And that's exactly what they did. They built a championship team. A few years later, the team got older. They had to reload. And then a lot of people wondered, well, maybe they can just rest on their laurels and just hope that these old guys can last a little longer, especially on defense. Hope is not a plan. What do the Rams do? They go out and come up with the new pod approach in the draft with Fisk and Verse. It worked out wonderfully. They got one of the best, arguably the most complete front four. In my opinion, they are. No offense to the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Rams are just a little bit better up front in terms of the defensive line in the National Football League. Again, hope is not a plan. We're seeing this come through once again with this move. You can hope that Bo Limmer becomes a good football player, a great football player, a championship caliber center, or you can go with a guy that is, a guy that you know understands the offense, a guy that can come in, work with Matthew Stafford, who Stafford can trust, who McVay can trust, who the rest of the offensive line, who Avila, Dotson, all these guys can trust in the interior, allow you to execute. Because when push comes to shove, right, no matter how good of an athlete you are, no matter how good of a football player you are, it's third and 5, you're on the road in Philly, you're on the road in Detroit, you're on the road in Seattle, wherever it is in a late regular season game or a playoff game, and it's third and 5 at midfield, you're down by 3 minutes to go. You're going to be an exotic blitz coming right at you. Crowd's going crazy. You at the quarterback, you can't hope that your center picks up the blitz right and everything gets communicated. You have time to hit Nakua down the field to win the game. You have to know that you can get it done. And that's what they're getting with Dotson. They're getting, I'm sorry, not with Dotson. That's what they're getting right here. Why am I Shelton? Thank you. Good Lord, forgetting his name. This is exactly what you're getting here with Coleman Shelton, right? A guy who's been there before, an experience you can trust and rely on. And I think this is critical for any team trying to go after a title. We see some teams like, I look at the Kansas City Chiefs this offseason as a great example. They went after the young tackle Jalen Moore. I think that's not the right move, right? You're wanting to win more championships, bring in veterans, bring in experience. I love what the Rams are doing here. They're taking away approach of, we like Bo Limmer. He's got a bright future, but we need someone we know can step up when the time comes. And that's exactly what the Rams have done. And it's not by accident, as Les Snead demonstrates. It's all a part of their strategy. Once again, I know a lot of people are critical of us sometimes because, like, oh, all you do is say good things about the Rams. We say good things about the Rams because they have great strategies and they execute on it, and it wins football games, guys. And that's what's so good. And Rams fans, you guys should really appreciate it. I know it's not a Super Bowl every year, and I know you're not, a dynasty like the Chiefs or whatever, but the reality is this is one of the better run football teams in the entire National Football League, and they've been that way for like 6, 7 years. They think outside the box. They constantly are changing and evolving. And this is just a perfect example of understanding the reality. Matthew Stafford, quarterback, end of his career, win now mode. We all understand that, undeniably so. Davante Adams. What do? Make sure you bring back a center, again, at a great price, too, on top of it. After everything that comes together, the right strategy in terms of win now, make sure you have someone you can rely on. You bring in Coleman Shelton, and you get him at a good price, a great price, a team-friendly price. Once again, phenomenal job by the Los Angeles Rams.